Maybe connection.
Well, here we are again, C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. Hey, so grateful that you're here. To all of you who came and showed up live and you're participating, we love you. Thank you. And for all of you watching the replay, thanks again. Our topic today and our speaker today are so timely, and I cannot wait to tell you why that is. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm Kathleen Caldwell, founder of C-Suite Networks, Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. Hey, I want to also mention there are so many things that I don't know, and I am so grateful to each of you for enlightening me, and in educating me and bringing more to my life about things that are important in life. And today's topic is just one of those things about accessibility. And so I'm a speaker, author, founder of our great council, a gatherer of extraordinary women. So thank you. You are it. I just would love to do a quick shout out to Sheila Anderson, our speaker last week. It was a fantastic program. If you haven't seen it, check out the replay. All about up-leveling our look, our image, our brand online. Wow, it was, I'm still simmering. How about you? You're still simmering and thinking about that great program. And making myself think and stop and say, okay, is this leveled up for me, or what can I do to level up my look here? So it was great. And of course, thank you. Big shout out to you, Julia Lynn. Thank you for your great program about heart health and waking up, reducing stress, and increasing our health and vitality. So critical. And I did a program a couple weeks ago about high ticket success. Fantastic. Thank you to all of you for being there and participating. And of course, we're talking about more money, more power moves, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, the things that are important to our corporate clients. And also a hot topic, we're going to be doing a panel very, very soon about HR issues. And each of you have got an HR, human resources, learning and development, talent, retention, and attraction. You've each got an angle that I want to talk about with you that we can bring to the talent world. So we're going to have a summit coming up in September that I would love to have each of you involved in. It's going to be fantastic because burnout, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it is more timely than ever before. And of course, Carol, thank you to you, Carol Kammer. Thank you for your program on LinkedIn. Susan Younger on redefining humanitarianism. Thank you. You are also, several of you, on a great panel about the category of one. And of course, corporate coaching and consulting. So thank you. Thank you. Well, I love my little alarm clock, ladies, because it's time to really hone in on something that's really, really important, specifically in the corporate world, in the education and the government consulting and coaching world. And it's important that we know about this so we can better serve not only ourselves, but our clients. But I did some research, and Angela and I have been talking about this during our coaching sessions, but the stats on retention and hiring of employees are astounding, ladies, and all of you watching the replay, thank you. The cost, as you can see on the left-hand side, is employee turnover, according to the wallstreetjournal.com. It still remains a costly challenge, even in 2025. You know, we look at these labor statistics and all of the numbers on hiring employees, associates, colleagues, and turnover continues to be a very, very important topic because I'm sure you're aware of this, but between 50 and 200% of an employee's salary is the cost of turnover, to essentially let go and to find a new employee, a new replacement. And so the good news is that, and Angela Fowler is going to be speaking about this today, is 42%, according to the Wall Street Journal and SHRM and other sources, is all of this is preventable, okay? Making inclusive hiring and retention strategies that are smart and also essential is the key, Okay. And of course, you have comments, questions. Angela, I know you're open certainly to taking some great questions, of course, during our presentation, right? You'd love to do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, we want this to be interactive. So it is my pleasure to introduce our guest, esteemed faculty partner speaker, Angela Fowler. And sparkling for you, Angela, really good. You
Well,
are,
thank you very much, Kathleen. And first, I want to apologize in advance. My dog has picked this time to start whining at me about who knows what. Um, so I thought giving her some food would appease her, but that did not work. So we're gonna get through this, and if she
yeah,
starts raising the volume too much, I'm gonna have to pause and let her out.
that's okay. Hey, life's in session. And when we work from home, these are the
You,
challenges. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and I've got four fur babies, and I've my resume says food dispenser and door operator.
There you go. There you go. Good, 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 good. Hey, and in addition to that, we are so grateful you're the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Real Life Access, and you're an accessibility designer, coach, strategist, and you have informed us and you have educated all of us in C-Suite Network and beyond about accessibility, what it means, how it impacts our life, and I so appreciate you. So, Angela, we'd love to turn the podium over to you. We've got a couple slides that we'd like to talk about, but just jump in and we will make you our speaker here. Thank you. So, well, let's take ourselves off mute, sisters, and let's welcome Angela to our stage. Thank you. Woohoo!
Welcome. Yay.
Yay! Welcome. Right on.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you all for coming, and for those of you watching on the replay, thank you as well. I am Angela Fowler, the founder and CEO of Hiring for of Real Life Access, of which one of the pillars of the business is hiring for champions. And why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing this because there is an untapped talent pool out there. And that talent pool is people with disabilities. You know, people with disabilities are underemployed, and blind people are actually one of the most underemployed groups out there. And there's several reasons for that, none of which is the reason that most people think. You know, oftentimes when people hear this conversation come up, they want to invoke the D word, the dirty D word, which is discrimination. And the dirty D word is worse than the F word. Because when you invoke the F word, oftentimes, especially these days, the conversation continues. Because you're not accusing anybody of anything. But when you invoke the dirty D word, you're not only being inflammatory, but you are being inaccurate, because the problem is not discrimination. So let me illustrate this with a little anecdote. For the past year and a half, I worked at a, a day job that involved helping the organization to improve the accessibility of their digital presence. It involved auditing their digital presence. It involved, training developers, accessibility specialist stuff. And I was hired in good faith, but I was not hired with a good plan. And as a result, the experience wasn't good. The things that I was doing were misaligned with the things that I think I bring to the company. And I really got burnt out in the job. And you know, they ran out of things for me to do. I mean, how many times can you audit a website? I mean, how many there is a finite number of websites that you can audit. Um, until you have to either do something else or start the process over. And they were in the process of migrating their website, so starting the process over wasn't really an option. Um, and the role wasn't a fit for me. I'm a teacher. I'm a leader. I'm not good at implementing. I'm not good at attention to detail. Um, I'm a lot better at taking an idea and assessing its feasibility and validity than I am at getting those last few pieces put into place. They needed an implementer for the job, really, and they needed somebody who was better at doing tedious work. And the other problem, and the reason that I couldn't cross pollinate into other roles was there was a lot of accessibility issues. So the platform that was being used to develop the new website wasn't accessible to me. And while this was frustrating for Angela, the accessibility specialist, it is a golden opportunity for Angela, the hiring for champions coach, because it speaks to two of the primary causes of turnover and may very well speak to a third. In fact, I think it does. So, why is there so much turnover? Why are people not working out in their jobs? Well, there's three things. Two of which don't necessarily touch on accessibility, on disability. The third touches on disability and everybody else. So the first thing is misalignment. When you hire somebody for a role, you hammer out a job description, right? And then you try to find a person that fits that job description. That's what most people do. But oftentimes that doesn't happen. Maybe somebody fits with some of the job description or most of the job description. But there are elements of the job that they either can't do or don't do very well. The second is cultural inflexibility. This is your job. This is what you're going to do. You're going to stay on the reservation. You're just, we're not going to change things. Um, some of that it has to do with regulations that some organizations have to follow. Some of it has to do with just force of habit. This is the way we've done things, and this is the way we're going to continue doing things. But in a culture not flexible to adapt, people who are misaligned can't pivot. They can't say, hey, this role isn't working for me. Can I do something I'm better at? Can I switch tasks with that other person so that we're both doing things that we're better at? And the third factor is accessibility. When your tools and technology rather are not accessible, it is it's difficult for everybody. We look at accessibility as a people with disabilities thing. Um, it's not. It is, but that's not all it is. The drain on productivity caused by balky, clunky, inaccessible technology is real. So those are the three causes of turnover. Three of the causes of turnover. There are others. But how do we fix it?
And Angela, do you want to get a little conversation going here
Sure.
too?
Let's
Because
let's you know what? Let's This is a good segue actually.
yeah,
Let's see if
yeah,
anybody has questions.
yeah. And I put in the chat how many of you can relate between your experiences or know of people when perhaps it was tech issues or it was culture issues or it was like a misalignment and you were hired for one thing or you know someone who was hired for one thing, but then the job shifted into something else, but the company didn't support the change, right? I can completely understand. How
I
about
can
you?
I
Yeah.
can remember, and this was before there was a lot of computer accessibility in a facility, and I was managing one of the divisions within a large corporation, store planning aspect. And one of the other divisions had started using a tool for purchase orders, and we had decided to implement that as an easier way than the old paper-driven ones. So several of us started using that system. We had a change in management at the corporate level to somebody who was still on the paper system, and she refused to adapt and made all of us go back to using paper because
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
uncomfortable for her.
Mhm.
Uh, I think there are those times that it is an individual in a position of management who decides what was working for them instead of looking at what is working for the team or the community. And and they have that right of refusal to move forward. Now with things changing even more rapidly, there are aspects that need to be addressed from so many different perspectives. When you talk about inflexibility, no adaptability, you are losing things from so many different directions that it makes it impossible to say that something that is supposed to be moving forward isn't tripping over itself.
And the consultant in me is saying, okay, why was she so resistant to the or to the, rather, to the new system? Did
Except
she
there
just
was
not
no
know how?
consultant.
Pardon?
There was no consultant,
Well,
you know?
exactly. So here I am
Yeah,
trying to diagnose the problem.
yeah,
And I can't because she's not here, but I can speculate. And if it's a case of her just being, I hate technology, I don't want to use this, then it's something that she could very easily have delegated to something else.
exactly.
Which is where the flexibility thing comes in, right? I love it, and I'm looking for a new day job, and I love the LinkedIn easy apply feature. And I also hate it because some of the questions just don't make any sense. For example, how many years of experience do you have using Figma? Now, Figma is a software that allows people to collaborate on a visual design of a web component, right? So you can basically build your wireframe and other people can edit it, and it's great for visual designers. But it stinks for blind people because it is totally inaccessible. So the literal answer to that would be zero. But how many times have I had conversations with a visual designer while they were using Figma or Sketch or whatever and said, okay, let's build the workflow this way. So they're basically implementing my changes into the Figma design. I'm not using Figma, but I am designing a user experience, and I'm a good user experience designer. I'm not a good visual designer, but if you partner me with a good visual designer, we will rule the world.
And Angela, everything you just said was like Chinese to me a moment ago. I don't understand, didn't understand anything that you just talked about. So it's inaccessible for me. And for
Hmm.
how many of you can you relate to that?
I
We're just
just
not
I
on
just
the
made
same
an
page.
inaccessible speech.
And but yet it's talking about tools that are used within an organization that sometimes it is less about are they skilled at that or can they effectively work with the people who do. And I think that is where skill set used to be being able to tick off the boxes of what programs have you done instead of understanding that frequently you can find somebody skilled to do that, but they could not manage the process. And if you had an effective manager or leader that could manage the process, you could implement those doing the process at a more effective level to a outcome that serves the company
Right.
more efficiently, more effectively, and more to the bottom line.
You know,
Absolutely.
it seems to me too that having a dedicated person to look at issues like that would be very beneficial. And I'm thinking of my experience. I was teaching fashion design at a university for women in Saudi Arabia,
Oh,
and
wow.
they had endless resources, of course, and it was just amazing. And then the de facto king put all his prince cousins into jail, and the university lost all their money. So
Oh,
the
wow.
expats, our contracts ended, and I ended up taking a job in Mexico teaching the same fashion design. And it was a university, Universidad de Monterrey in Monterrey, Mexico. They had a beautiful new building that was designed by a Japanese architect, and it was one of those smart buildings. And every classroom had codes and numbers you had to put in to get the lights to go on, to get the AV to work. And I'm new there and I'm used to like sliding in, teaching, doing my thing, connecting with students. I would spend 30 minutes trying to chase down who has this number, who knows. And it was so frustrating. That's what was, I could see the churn there of people leaving because there was nobody to like tell you how it works from the very beginning. So it was almost like the technology, no one was babysitting that and realizing that your new professors need to be. I was even told that it was a smart building. So I feel like there's two sides to this. There's the side where, you know, like Angela's ex or Susan's example of the manager that said, we're going to do it the way I like to do it. And then there's the, like it's way over everybody's head and nobody's taking temperatures to see, hey, do you know how to use this? And because of
Exactly.
that frustration, I was like, I can't do this. Plus, culturally, they don't value educators in Mexico like they do in Saudi Arabia. So it was like, you complained, too bad. We'll get to it sometime. And then they never do. So it was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. And let me ask the rhetorical question that gets lost when we automate the hiring process. Because the downside of automation is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. I'm implementing it in my own business. But the downside of automation that we can never lose sight of is that we lose nuance. So here's the question. Why were you hired? Were you hired for your ability to teach fashion design, or were you hired for your ability to operate a smart building, which sounds really intimidating to me?
Yeah, good question, Angela. I love that. And what you just said, also, my daughter has been experiencing trying to find a job. And
Mm,
she feels like AI is not picking up the nuances. It's not picking up the people that are really skilled and would fit into that job. They get booted out before anybody because they're getting like 4,000 resumes. And AI is the one that chooses, just, which is faulty. I mean, my Instagram account, they accused me of posting self-harm posts. Self-harm. I'm all about health and wellness. It was an AI bot in Meta
yeah,
that
because
flagged a story. Now I can't do lives for a year. That's my penalty.
that is,
It's insane. So I think this technology, I mean, and then your situation too, I so appreciate because you have an added layer that most of us have no idea what that's like. We have no idea what it's like not to have vision in the jobs that we do.
yep.
So I really appreciate, Angela, your perspective on all these things.
And give me 30 seconds to explain why I have 0 years of experience using Figma, and it will make perfect sense. But, again, the downside of automation is the loss of nuance. So,
And I think also sometimes a checklist has been created by somebody without thinking about the fact that you
mhm,
could have one thing off the checklist missing, and that one thing could easily be compensated by six other things that aren't on the checklist. You
I
know,
got a kick out of the application for a product designer position that asked me if I had a driver's license.
you
Right.
wonder what happened somewhere along the way that all of a sudden that became important.
Somebody copied and pasted something without reading it.
Yeah,
But here's the thing. You and I know that. You and I know that it was a mistake that somebody made and somebody wasn't paying attention, whatever. There wasn't any bad faith there, more than likely. But a lot of people with disabilities see that, and the dirty D word creeps into their mind.
yeah.
Or they think, well, I shouldn't apply for this job. I don't have a driver's license. When in fact, you know, chances are you answer no to that question, it doesn't make a lick of difference.
Angela, I have a question.
Mhm.
How can we, as entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, how can we be more sensitive to this issue? And can you educate us on things that obviously we've not been exposed to or we don't know? You know, I mean, we can see when we go to a city, do they have those little um
Ramps.
ramps at the sidewalks, or is it a curb? Like, what is someone in a wheelchair supposed to do if those aren't, or, we've got all these things in our society that I often think, how is a person that is actually physically unable to make that step supposed to function in a society as freely as I do? So, I mean, just in general, is there anything that we can be more aware of?
If you take nothing else away from this, and there's a lot that we could talk about, and I encourage you to book some one-on-one time with me. That my calendar link is going to show up later. If you take nothing else away from this, take this away. Keep your mind open to the fact that people navigate the world differently. And of course you do. But we all look at life through the lens of our own experience. Speaking of which, it just occurred to me, I'm on camera, I'm supposed to be on camera, and it just occurred to me that I may very well have forgotten to turn the light on.
You have the light on, dear.
Uh,
We see you.
Yay!
And this is a group who would have acknowledged that fact and shared it with you, that we would love to see you.
I know you would have saved me. You would have saved me. But that comes to mind because I, like everybody else, sometimes don't consider the accessibility needs of other people when I do things until and unless somebody points those out to me.
Well,
So,
I would like to share something and point something out. Your face, Angela, is so open and inviting. It's like you just have this
oh, thank
smile.
you.
You do. You just, even when you're just talking, you've got a smile on your face, and that really
Oh,
invites people in. You just look like this person that is, we can trust, we like, we want to hear from because of your expression. It's just, you just have this smile. It's, your resting smile face is what you have.
see, I can't replicate it when I try. It just sort of happens. Resting smile face. See, I've heard the term resting face,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
never resting smile face. Kathleen won't let me use that word on here. Um,
I think everyone's in agreement. There was some thumbs up
Yes.
stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, guys. I really do. Um, any other questions before and we've really touched on the cure, right? But are there any questions before I hit the highlights of the cure?
Go for it, woman, go for it.
Well, yeah, and can I jump in very quickly, Angela? What we're noticing too is in all of the work you're doing with organizations and with associations and education and also government is we generally are finding, Angela, that people are wanting to work with people who have accessibility, concerns. I don't want to say challenges,
Mhm.
but people generally, they want to do good. They want to include everyone in the organization, and they just don't know how. And Julia, thank you very much for bringing up some of the questions. We just don't know that we don't know. And Angela, you provide such an important role in the world to educate us on what we don't know. And we're finding that, especially in the HR community and also the learning and development, and also just the people. I mean, everybody's in the people business, right? As consultants and coaches, but also in organizations, they are yearning to learn more. And you have done such a great job of marrying the business case for accessibility hiring, and accessing a whole diverse workforce that people don't even know about. So things like today are so critical, teaching us what we don't know, what we want to know, but also marrying up what's the data look like and solving business problems, right?
Well, and Kathleen, that's a beautiful segue because
Thank
people
you.
don't know. And that's why the dirty D word needs to be stricken from our vocabulary because it is so untrue.
Right.
People
What
just
word are you
don't.
speaking of, Angela? You're using these terms. Are you talking about?
The dirty D word is discrimination.
Okay, thank you.
Too often,
Yes.
people in the disability community assume discrimination where that's not what's happening. What's happening is lack of knowledge. And what's happening is lack of empowerment. People don't feel they want to do the right thing. My boss at the count the day job I spoke of, her heart is in the right place. She wanted to do the right thing, but in many ways her hands were tied by some circumstances that were controllable and some that just weren't. Um, so this leads me to the three-pronged approach that hiring for champions teaches. The first is accessibility, which we have discussed. If I can go in and use all the technology on day one, that makes me so much more productive and so much happier. My resting smile face does not turn into resting face when things are accessible. The second pillar is working genius theory, or making the job fit the person rather than the other way around. So, what do you do with me in that position? How can you, or can you, change that position so that you get the most out of me that you can? Which leads me to the third pillar, and that is a culture that is open to change, a culture that's flexible. So many, human beings are creatures of habit, right? We hate change. One of the reasons that there's resistance to accessibility, it's got nothing to do, accessibility, everybody wants to be accessible, but nobody wants to change. So the oftentimes that contributes to a culture that's not open to change. And I think that's the hardest of the three pillars to implement, but it needs to be implemented bit by bit and really process by process. Any questions at this point before I tell you how you can find me?
I will add to what you said about making positions work for the individuals. I think that's even important, not just in the hiring, but in the internal reworking of organizations as things change.
Yeah.
We frequently try to make it fit within the old job description instead of looking at the fact that we need new job descriptions on a much more frequent basis, and most companies are willing to take on. And I think it becomes part of that cultural adaptability.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Angela, I so appreciate you informing all of us about this. And we're going to be doing an event specifically for people that are in the hiring in organizations to help them to lean into this tremendous opportunity for including everyone in the workplace and how to do that. And who better than you to teach us how to do that?
And HR folks have a lot on their plate, right? They're dealing with
Yeah.
so much that it becomes difficult to go from, putting out fires to learning about and implementing a proactive solution like hiring for champions. So we're gonna look into that, and we're gonna look into, okay, what can we do to make it as easy as possible for people to start implementing these things.
Absolutely. And education is the first step,
Yep.
and also providing options and solutions. So
And
Angela, I will put up the slide about how people can reach you. And then if you'd like to, we can do some wrap up here and appreciation and acknowledgement for you, Angela.
absolutely, book a strategy call, or what are we calling it again? Book a
Discovery call, conversation,
discovery call, not a strategy.
calling it all of this, right? Yeah,
book a conversation.
that's right. That's right.
I've got my calendar open for the next week plus. So let's deep dive. And those of you listening on the replay, it should be available. We're recording this on Thursday the 7th. The replay should be available pretty quick, right? You turn these
Absolutely.
things around pretty
24 hours.
quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And of course, connecting with you on LinkedIn too, with Real Life
absolutely.
Access and reallifeaccess.com.
Connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also go to www.reallifeaccess.com, which has all the things.
Very great. So as we turn to each of you, what's your biggest takeaway from our time together with Angela and during our very rich and wonderful conversation today? Just curious what your biggest takeaway is. And of course, we always love to appreciate our guest presenter too. And Angela, I appreciate the lightheartedness under which you bring a very important and timely topic to us and how important it is. So thank you for that.
Accessibility can be overwhelming to people. I've seen people just freeze because it seems like there's so much that needs to be done at once. Let me just say, this is not going to happen overnight. This hiring for champions is a three-pronged approach that takes time to implement. So, the way that I like to work with people is I like to say, okay, high impact plus easy wins equals this is where we start.
A
I
great
will tell
recipe
you,
for everything.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
Yep.
Angela, I love the simplicity of the 3 steps. It allows you to work with anybody about what is the easiest piece for them to start to tackle. in order to figure out how to start moving it forward without making it an insurmountable issue.
And it's different for everybody.
It is different for everybody, and you recognize that need for an individual approach to a big problem in business.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd also like to jump in, Angela, and say that what I'm noticing as a coach and consultant, especially in the corporate area with corporate clients, I get to be a hero. I mean, I'll just be very transparent here, is I'm making connections for you and the work you're doing to my clients because they don't know who to turn to. And so I get to play matchmaker to people and organizations for you. So you're helping them and they get to work with a trusted person to bring more inclusion into the workplace. So it's a win-win for everyone. So just
Absolutely.
putting a
And I
little shout
appreciate
out for options for each of us to do that as well.
Yep.
So my
Yeah,
key takeaway is that the culture is the issue. And that's a big one. But I love that Angela makes it easy for us to see first step, second step, just moving along toward implementing so that everybody has a win all the time, as opposed to overwhelm. I just appreciate your openness, Angela, to knowing that it's hard and not being immediately frustrated with everyone.
Well, and if we don't acknowledge that something is hard, and when I say, it's hard, it's not, it's hard. It's no, this is hard. This is going to take some time. It's like if you go to the dentist and they say, well, we'll be ready to take you back in 5 minutes. Then after 5 minutes, you're sitting there going, well, what's going on? After 15 minutes, you're ready to leave. And when they finally do take you back a half hour later, you no longer have resting smile face. But if they're upfront and
Because your
say,
tooth's hurting.
yeah, there you go, it turns into something else. But if they're upfront and say, look, we're way behind, you really should have a book. Then after a half an hour, you have to wait. So you're really not as perturbed. Maybe you walk away and schedule the appointment for another time, which is probably going to be just fine with them. But you've got more control over the situation. You're not handcuffed to the chair, figuratively speaking. Thinking, well, surely they'll be here any minute. Any minute.
Bringing it to real life, Angela. There we go. Real life access. How about that?
I did not
Yeah.
expect to be talking about dentist offices today, but here we are.
Well, it's that pragmatic part that you bring to us.
There you go.
And I appreciate that Kathleen named that the other day, pragmatism. It's like, that's so perfect.
But you never know where one of my presentations is going to go.
Thank you, Carol. And humor too. We were talking about humor, right? Having some humor. It doesn't have to be so serious, right?
You gotta laugh, even if it's to avoid crying.
Or in addition to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Julia Lynn, would you like to jump in and then we'll complete our program today?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Angela, what I appreciate about you is obviously your intelligence, your measured approach to this problem. I tend to react emotionally to the underdog, people who are misrepresented, people who are not treated fairly, people with disabilities. I have family members that, cerebral palsy, they can't function normally. And watching, I mean, that's a completely different thing, but watching how people react to other people that are not like them. They're
Yep.
othering. They're always othering somebody. And that gets my back hairs up. But I love that your energy is not that of a mad activist. You're like, this is what's happening. This is my experience. And obviously, you have lived the experience. So
Yep.
you're presenting it from real life. And I so appreciate that. And like I said before, your resting smile face is so inviting. I want to hear what you have to say, and I want to be on your team. It's like,
Well, thank you.
yeah,
Well, welcome aboard.
yeah.
Let's
So,
schedule some time to chat later on.
yeah. So thank you for, just bringing this to our awareness, because I've worked in corporate settings and I don't recall that ever being talked about or being like, I don't know. It's just, I think lately when we see more in the marketing world where they're inclusive, all kinds of people, which seems, we should have done this decades ago, like interracial, same sex, people in wheelchairs, like, because society just wants to other people. You're different than me. I'm going to other you. And so I think that we start in very basic environments, like the work environment. Come on, you know? And it goes down to the nuance you're talking about. So I so appreciate this awareness you brought today
Yep.
very much.
Well, and people definitely people are strange sometimes. The different reactions that I get from people as a blind person, you just got to shake your head. Um, what goes on in the mind of another, I really don't know. Um, I had I was approaching somebody about their website because I had a meeting with them, and they wanted me to fill out this little intake form. Okay, fine. But the form, I'm not exactly sure how it was coded, but it was not coded with accessibility in mind. So I emailed them and I said, hey, I'm totally blind. I use a screen reader. This is what's happening with the form. Can we fix it? And the gentleman responded, I kid you not. Oh, you're blind? Let me introduce you to my client who's also blind.
And the
It was so,
stories
it
you
was,
have, Angela, are amazing.
it was so mind-boggling. I wrote a song about it.
There you go. There you go. Hey, thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey, let's gosh, take ourselves off mute. Thank you, Angela. Really appreciate
Thanks,
everything you brought
Angela.
today.
Yeah,
Thank
Woohoo!
thank
you.
you. Thank
Thank
One,
you.
you.
two, three.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Excellent.
guys.
Excellent. So with that, we cannot wait to love to share with you. You've got some excellent programs, of course, coming up. Thank you, Angela. And next Wednesday, we've got a little something special that is unusual, which is we're going to be focusing in on how to get corporate and business clients, specifically how to package, position, and promote what it is that you do into the B2B market. And this is a masterclass that is an intensive. So you will leave, it's from 1 to 4 Eastern time on Wednesday of next week. And you will leave with your entire system laid out about how to corporatize your offer, and then how to target your ideal clients and how to get in and start the process. So we're very, very excited about this. Registration is open right now, so thank you on that. And then, of course, the following day, Susan K. Younger, you are talking about humanitarianism. We're very thrilled about that. And yep, yeah. Anything that you'd like to jump in and talk about, Susan, about that? Because it's going to be a great program, focusing in on the who of who we are and the workplace and the work we do and the life we live, right? And
And
you are
if
on
I
mute.
can
Yes, great.
unmute, yes. I think
Yeah.
it layers beautifully after what Angela has talked about, because it is about discovering who you are and how you can integrate what you need with what others do and who they are. And it is really about making it that individual component of how the teams come together, how in business and in taking care of other people and their needs. If you are implementing it only from your point of view, you are missing the best about how to make it really a successful integration in business or life.
Excellent. Excellent. And I shared with Angela that I had a dream last night about collaboration between all of us and a summit and all kinds of fun things, because we can see some themes here. Because thank you, Susan. And then on the 21st of August, from at 1 o'clock Eastern, we're talking about teams, how to help organizations build teams, teamwork, people working better together, groups in organizations. And we're really excited about that. And I get to bring all of my experience doing that. Gosh, 25 years plus years of how to build teams and how to have people work better together and want to work better together. So you see the themes here, okay? So with that, thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Angela, again, for bringing your expertise and your knowledge into the C-Suite Network Women's Coaching and Consulting Council. So thanks, ladies. Bye for now. Kisses to all of you watching the replay as well. Take care. We'll see you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.